There's a huge difference between having time off over the summer during our break and actually recovering from the school year. And I learned the difference in that the hard way. And when I say I learned it the hard way, I mean, I really learned it the hard way. And in this video tonight, I just want to kind of share with you four things that every teacher needs to do over summer break to ensure that you come back healthy, energized, and ready to go. Because there's nothing worse than coming back halfway recovered. We want to be fully recovered when we come back to school. And then I want to share with you one mistake that I've made in my career that almost cost me everything. It almost cost me my life, it almost cost me my health, and it almost cost me my career. Now, the things that teachers need to do over this break. I call them the 4 R's, and I almost made a fifth R, and I'll tell you about that when I get to it. But the first R is to reconnect. And when I say reconnect, what I mean is to find a place, a specific type of place. It's got to be a place that kind of pulls you back to yourself. It should be a familiar place. And I say all that to say because my wife and I, we've been going to the same resort for almost 20 years. And I know that that sounds insane. How in the world do you go to the same place over and over and over? And don't you want to go somewhere else? And the answer to that is very simple. First of all, we do go other places. But the other half of that answer is, well, not really. We don't really want to go anywhere else. And the reason why is because the place that we go, the vacation spot that we have, it's not just it is a resort, but it's not just a resort. Because the reality of it all is that it is a memory bank for us. It is a place that we have been over and over and over. And the cool thing about it is it's a place where we got to watch our kids grow up and we created memories there with our kids. We used to watch our kids go up and down this lazy river, and they were on inner tubes, and they would stand up and act like they were daredevils and all this other stuff, and do flips and jump off the side of the pool and all that other stuff. And we can remember our kids going down. They had these big water slides there, and they'd go down these water slides, and they would have all kinds of fun, and come down head first. And my oldest son, I remember, he was kind of a tech kind of kid, and he always wanted to do you know cutting edge kind of stuff. And so he is back whenever the cell phones came out and they were first waterproof, and he would take his and he'd put it in the little bag, and he would go down, and he would film himself going down the slide and then going into the water. And my wife and I, all these years, and our kids are all grown up, right? They've all got lives, they've got families, they're all grown up. But my wife and I, we remember those things. I mean, we remember them just like they were yesterday. And I think my our most favorite all time memory, being on vacation with our kids, is we were in our, I guess you would say, villa, right? And me and my wife were off reading or we're watching TV or something, and our kids, we thought they were off playing in the room, and they were playing in the room, okay, but not in the way that we thought that they were playing in the room, because what they did is they started prank calling all of the businesses on the resort. So they would call them and hang up, or they would call them and say something crazy on the phone. And the next thing I know, the phone in the villa is ringing, and I answer the phone, and they're like, "Hey, somebody from there is calling up and hanging up on everybody. If you guys don't stop it, we're going to kick you out." I will never forget that in all of my life. I'll never forget that. It was the funniest thing ever. And well, it wasn't funny at the time. I got to be honest. I was pretty mad at the time because I thought we were going to get kicked out. But here we are all these years later, and all of a sudden it's really funny because it's a memory. And it's a memory that we remember every single time that we return to that resort. The place connects us uh, to things that matter. And I think every teacher needs a place just like that. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be far away. It doesn't have to be anything uh, big. It just has to be somewhere, someplace that reminds you that you are more than just a job or that you are more than just a teacher. It has to be a place that reconnects you with the memories of the past, the enjoyable memories of the past. Every single teacher needs that if you're going to recover well over the summer. All right, we're going to open it up to the chat because I checked the comments are on. So want to encourage everybody to drop in right here very quickly. I'm just getting ready to pull it up if I can get over there and find out what I'm doing. My whole doggone software is upgraded and I can't find anything. So tell us your grade level, your content, and your state. Absolutely want to hear from you. Absolutely want to know what's going on. And again, we're talking about the 4 R's of teacher summer break recovery. The 4 things that every teacher needs in order to recover well. All right. And the first one is to reconnect. We got to get reconnected. Reconnect it with our families, reconnect it with the memories of the past, reconnect it with the good old days, because that is extraordinarily important. Number 2 is recreation. And when I say that, I mean that in the most literal of terms. I mean it in the terms of recreation. Recreation. It is the idea of recreating yourself or creating yourself again through physical activity and enjoyment. Now, for me, that means that I'm going to end up being on a golf course. Doesn't matter where we go. I'm going to be on the golf course. And I got to be clear is I'm not a great golfer. I'm average at best because I just don't get to go out and play a whole lot. But when I'm out there on the course, something seems to happen. It doesn't always happen at other places, but it happens here. And it's the idea that my mind, it starts to untangle, and all the complex problems that have been sitting in the back of my mind or in the back of my brain, they begin to work themselves out. And I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. You know, I guess it has to do with physical movement and the nice air. Of course, I live in Florida and we vacation in Florida. Believe it or not, there's no need for us to go anywhere else. It's the vacation capital of the world. And so it must be something about that physical movement and being outside. And beyond that, beyond the mental state and beyond what it does for me from that perspective, at 54 years old, I got to move, right? My body has to exercise. And you've probably seen that commercial that an object at rest tends to stay at rest, but an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Well, that's kind of like me right there. I got to stay in motion. I got to keep moving. And the golf course is a great place for that. I walked several holes of golf while I was there. I rode for several holes of golf, just trying to stay in shape. But one of the things that happens on the golf course, and you might not think about this, but the golf course has introduced me to some genuinely great people. I have met a lot of people on a golf course. And, you know, because I showed up there, I was a single, you know, and had an early morning tea time. And of course, they always pair you up with some people. And I got paired up with these people over the break from Houston. And, you know, you start off as a stranger, but by the time you get around to the 4th hole or somewhere along those lines, well, through conversation and through, you know, hitting some good shots and through encouragement, all of a sudden you start to make a friend. And that's exactly what recreation ought to do. That's what it's supposed to do. Because recreation isn't just activity, recreation, that's renewal through enjoyment. We are recreating ourselves through physical activity. All right, I'm going to go over here to the chat because something ain't right. Oh, there we go. Cool beans. Somebody is out there. 7th grade teacher in South Carolina. Good to see you. Appreciate you jumping in. Anybody else? Jump in. Give us your place and where you're from. A lot of you are probably new. I don't go live a lot on Wednesdays. I do over the summertime. So jump in and tell us where you're from, what your content area is, and what's going on. Tell us about your summer. Also, I dropped into discussion or in the chat right there. I dropped a whole bunch of links. Those jump over to Amazon. They're books, and we're going to talk about them here in just a minute. It's one of the important aspects of, from my opinion, as it relates to recovery over the summer. Also, wanted to share with you really quickly, all of our free stuff, all the Teacher Talk free stuff can be found right there. You can get a QR code or you can find it in the description. Either way, jump down in there and grab that stuff. It's free. It's 100% free and it's always free, or at least most of it is. Some of it's not, but you'll figure out which ones are free and which ones are not. So jump down there and grab those and give yourself some encouragement. All right, the third R is reframe. And this one might be maybe the most important R that nobody else ever talks about. Never talk about this one. But here's the truth, is that all of us, every single one of us, we get stuck in our own heads. We see things from our own perspective. We come to believe that we are right. We view everything through our own lens and our own experience and our own opinions, even our own frustrations. And I want to go ahead and admit that and confess that I am 100% guilty of this. It's not that I'm arrogant, at least I hope not, but I pretty much think that I'm right. And because of that, I struggle sometimes with seeing the point of view or the opinion of other people. And that perspective has to be challenged. And I intentionally challenge myself in this area every single year over the summer break. It's not that I don't read while we're in school, but I got to be honest with you, there isn't a lot of time in my schedule for what you might say pleasure reading or purposeful reading. But our perspective has to be challenged. Our blind spots, they got to be found. And when we're on vacation, a real good vacation, that's one of the best times to do it. And the reason why is because we got time. We have the ability. A lot of times we have the quietness to be able to do that. And the best place or the best way that I know how to reframe, there are two, is number one is going directly to God. As everybody knows, this is a faith-based channel. Teacher Talk is. And so we believe that the best place to gain wisdom is to go directly to the source of wisdom. Because the scripture makes it plain that if anyone would seek wisdom and they would ask, then he will give it generously without finding fault. And I absolutely love that last part if we work backwards in that. It's that he will give it to us without finding fault. God will give wisdom without looking at me and saying, John, I've known you for 54 years and you have been an idiot quite often. He won't look at me and say, John, you've been pretty stupid down through the years. I don't know. He won't look at me and say, you know what? I've given you wisdom in the past. I've made it available to you. And you know what, John? You didn't use it. You didn't do anything with it. And all of those accusations would be 100% true. But that's not what he says. He says, if any of you lack wisdom, ask. If you'll ask, he will then in turn give it generously without finding fault. And I got to tell you, as one that has a pile of faults, I sure do find that reassuring. The second way that we can gain an outside perspective is through reading. And over the summer, I read extensively and excessively. And I don't mean the guilty pleasure type of reading, although there's nothing wrong with that, so I'm not having a problem there. What I mean is that I am actively looking for wisdom from people who have already figured some things out that I haven't figured out yet. Throughout the year, I guess I'd make like mental notes or maybe an Apple note or something along those lines, things that I want to learn, things that I want to figure out that I don't know about. And so I go and look for books or listen for recommendations that'll help me do that. And so I want to just share with you right quick my reading list for the summer. And also, right over there in the chat, that is the reading list for the summer. And the first one that I want to share with you is a book, and you're going to appreciate this title. It's called Everything is Figure Outable. Everything is Figure Outable. All right. If you want to know something and you want to know how to figure it out, right there is the read for you. So jump into the chat and grab that book. It's on Amazon. It's their book. It's not mine. It's not like I wrote it. They're not paying me per se. So jump in there and grab that. Everything's Figure Outable. And here's another one. And I don't usually do this. I don't usually read a book that's about education, but the author of this book is Mike Pope. And if you'll go to like Facebook and just kind of search the name Mike Pope, you'll be able to find him very quickly. Right. And his book is called It All Falls on the Kids, or It All Falls on the Kid. And what he talks about in this book is how the education system is literally destroying the education of kids. And it's done through various things. Some things that he disagrees with that I agree with him on is that, how important it is for kids to be in an elective. And whenever you take a 6th grade or 7th grade or 8th grade kid who struggles in reading, who already doesn't like to read, or who struggles in math, who already doesn't like math, and you say, hey, you're not scoring high enough on this test over here, so we're going to take you out of PE, and we're going to take you out of band, and we're going to put you in 2 extra intensive classes so that you can get better at the thing that you're already struggling at. And his point is that doesn't help the kid at all. It hurts the kid. And so that's one of the things that he talks about right there. Again, that's over in the chat. So jump in and grab it out. All right, one of the better reads, all right, is Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. All right, the very first chapter is worth the whole price of the book because he talks about doing a time audit. And he has a method in there for how you can audit your time. And he also has a quadrant that you can work through so that you can take less important things and get them off of your back so that you can be involved in more important things. And I don't know anybody, any teacher that doesn't need to figure out how to buy back some time. Absolutely need to get every minute that we can because teachers are already working 15 to 20 hours a week. Unpaid overtime. Think about that. We work unpaid overtime. I know that doctors and lawyers and other people, professionals, educated professionals, that they have to work overtime. But my argument is they're getting paid. We don't get paid. I got one home, 8680. Yes, they need those alternatives. Absolutely. Absolutely they do. I mean, you think about it, you're taking something away from a kid, all in the name of getting better at something else. And the analogy that he uses in his book, and for those of you that just jumped in, we're talking about this right here, and then we're going to move on right quick. It all falls on the kid. The analogy that he uses in his book is, imagine a kid who is in PE class, who is, for all intents and purposes, able to play volleyball, able to play basketball, able to do all kinds of other stuff. But yet when it comes to a 1 mile run, maybe that is for the assessment. I think that's what it is at our school. I think every year they do 2 1 mile runs. Take a kid that maybe is struggling at a 1 mile run, and the way that you're going to get him better at the 1 mile run is to take him out of PE and put him in a class where he has to get on a treadmill and he has to run, where he has to meet all sorts of objectives, where he has to do all kinds of ridiculous stuff in order to get his cardiovascular up, right? Has to read and study about the benefits of exercise and how certain workouts could help you achieve certain goals as it relates to running. Imagine doing that in PE. Nobody would ever do that in PE. Nobody would ever take a kid out of PE and say, hey, man, you're just not fast enough on the mile, so we're going to put you in this intensive class over here until you can pass it. Nobody. And yet that's what we do in all the other areas. All right, our other read right here is Ready, Fire, Aim. Ready, Fire, Aim. Now, this might sound like a strange book for a teacher to read, but it's not, because it's just talking about, number one, you could guess by the title, Ready, Fire, Aim. Nobody would ever do that, right? It's aim, it's ready, aim, fire, right? Not ready, fire, aim. All right, so in part, what this book is talking about is getting our order down and getting our vision right, and getting things in place. And then finally, all these are in the chat, so feel free to grab them. All right, finally I'm working on an extensive study through the Proverbs. This is one of the resources that I use. All right, in-depth study, because I just happen to believe that the Proverbs contain the wisdom necessary to navigate this life. And so I put a little bit of study into them. If you're just jumping in, really quick, let me recap. All right, there's a huge difference between actually having time off and actually recovering from 10 months of teaching over the summer. And I got to be honest with you, I learned this the hard way. So I got this little 4R framework that I wanted to share with you. Number one is to connect, or to reconnect. And whenever I say reconnect, I mean find you a place, a familiar place, a place that you like to go to. And it's a place that pulls you back into the past. And, you know, one of the things that we were talking about is my wife and I, we've been going to the same resort for 20 years. And I know maybe that sounds ridiculous that we would just go to the same place over and over. And it's not that we don't go to other places. It's just that we make a point to go there. And the reason why is because it's like a memory bank to us. It holds so many memories of us watching our kids grow up. Of course, you know, our kids are all grown. They're all out on their own lives. They got their own families. But whenever we go back there, my wife and I, in fact, we were there just last week. Whenever we go back there, it's like we can relive those times with our kids. And it's pretty cool. Number two is recreation. And I mean that in the literal sense of recreation, recreation through physical activity and enjoyment. And for me, I find all that on the golf course. And it's not because I'm very good. I can tell you that. I'm just average. I can get out and whack the ball a little bit and have fun. But you got to move somehow. And, you know, I'm 54 years old, so I gotta get after it a little bit if I want to live much longer. And so that's the way I choose to do it. All right. The third R is to reframe. And that's what we were just talking about. how we get our heads stuck in the sand and how we get caught up in our own personal view or how we just view everything through our own experience or our own opinions or our own frustrations. And I'm 100% guilty, but I just believe that our perspective needs to be challenged in order for us to grow as human beings. Our perspective really needs to be challenged from time to time. And I personally use the summer to challenge my own perspective and to seek out wisdom. I seek out wisdom, obviously, first and foremost, for God, because the scripture makes it plain that if anybody needs wisdom, that they can ask for it and he will give it generously and without finding fault. And I seek out the wisdom of others by the reading of books to try to figure out some problems, to try to figure some things out that I want to know about. And summer is a time to let somebody else challenge our thinking. Number four, in the fourth one is relaxation. And when I say relaxation, I genuinely mean the type of relaxation that will allow you to unplug your brain and relax. Now, my wife and I, whenever we go on vacation, all right, we're getting up there, we're in our 50s. We spend a lot of time staying on this lazy river. I mean, it is, first of all, it's gigantic. It seems like it's a mile long, right? And we just float along or we walk along and then we'll get out and then we'll go up and sit in the hot tub a while. And then we'll go back, it will get too hot in there. So then we'll go back down to the lazy river and we'll hang out in there for a while. Or we'll sit on the side of the lazy river and we'll read. All right. Or whatever. The whole point is that there is no agenda. There's no checklist. There's nowhere that we have to be. There's nobody that's waiting on us. There's nothing that we have to do. And I don't know about you, but that is a ridiculously good feeling to me, to know that there's nowhere for me to be. There's nothing for me that I have to accomplish. There's nobody that I have to please. For those of us that are in school, there's no lesson plans. There are no parents that are going to yell at us. There's no crazy email that we're going to get from our admin. Nothing. Everything is done. Now, I say all that to say this is that I'm just fine with that. But my wife, she has a different idea of relaxation. Now, it's very important to her. This is a very important part of relaxation because her idea of relaxation involves shopping and big outlet malls and, dare I say it, high-end Coach purses and pocketbooks. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not all into that. I don't like that a whole lot. I'm going to tell you why. Because it hurts my bank account. It hurts my bank account. I enjoy spending time with my wife. I enjoy seeing her happy. I enjoy seeing her have fun. But it hurts my bank account. And for two reasons. Number one, because she's going to buy something. She's going to get some shoes or she's going to get a purse or she's going to get something else. Thank the Lord it doesn't have diamonds in it. The problem is that once we've been there a while, a day or two, I'm right there with her. And the next thing you know, I'm finding something that I need. And so I'm over there buying stuff up. And I'm almost convinced that I should have made this a 5R framework. And I should have added retail therapy to it. The only reason why I didn't is because my wife, she watches these things, and I don't want to get in trouble with my wife, right? I don't want to get in trouble with her over this. But here's the thing, and here's what I'd like to point out is that all these moments, even the ones that cost me money or they may cost you money, these moments of relaxation, they're all worth it. They're worth every penny of it. All the thing, whatever it takes for us to be able to reconnect, to go places that bring back memories, or whatever it takes so that we can have some good recreation. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of recreation that you can do 100% no charge or minimal charges. I don't know about where y'all live, but where I live in Florida, you can get a state park pass for, gosh, under $30, I think, and you can go to every state park in Florida. That's recreation. Reframing whatever books we have to buy or a conference that we need to go to or whatever it is that we need to do to have our perspective challenged, it might cost us a little bit. Relaxation may cost us a little bit, but it's worth every single penny. It's worth every penny of it. It's worth every penny to be able to get our mind off of education, to get our mind off of whatever drama we left at school on the last day, to get our mind off all the problems that have the ability to somehow live like rent free in our head, to get to a place where it's quiet and you get to focus on the things that actually matter. Things like your health. That matters, especially if you're my age, 54. I'm getting concerned. I want to hang out 30 more years. Other things like your memories. You know, I'm not a very sentimental type of person, but I can tell you that I love having a good laugh about a good memory. And I love thinking about times that my wife and I that we got to spend with our kids. And I told you earlier that, you know, our one of our best memories, not the fondest, I don't guess, but it's one of the best memories that we have on our time away, our vacations or whatever, is, you know, our kids were, we thought they were playing in the room, and they were playing in the room. I just didn't know that they were on the phone pranking all the businesses on the resort, and I didn't know that we were about to get kicked out. I mean, as mad as I was about that, and as upset as I was at my kids, today, whenever I get to talk about this with my wife and my kids, we just laugh so much, and they laugh at me because, oh, Dad, you were so mad. But it's a memory. You have your health, your memories, the people that you love. What's more important than spending time in recreation, in relaxing, in reconnecting, in reframing your life, and doing it with people that you love? Tell me how that can go wrong. And tell me that that's not worth a little bit of money. How much is that worth to you? Can you put a dollar sign on that? Because it's worth every single penny. And finally, you get to spend time with the God that you serve in some quiet time, being able to get away. Not being distracted, not being pulled away, but being able to find a place where you can focus. Now, I want to tell you why all four of those things actually matter. Because I just know that as surely as I'm sitting here that somebody's thinking, well, John, all that sounds great. I mean, it really does, but I've got lesson plans to make for next year. And I tell this story about every time I go live. I was watching a YouTube short the other day, a day in the life of a teacher on summer break, and it was pretty good. I mean, they did a really good job making the video, but there were a couple of things that bothered me. Is that, number one, it was their first day out of school, and they were going to another job. That bothers me because I don't think teachers ought to have to do that. And I don't know, maybe for that person, that is a way to kind of decompress. Okay, so I make no judgment on that other than the fact that I don't think that it's good to be heading off to another job. I got to stop for just a minute because I got my friend in here. Hola. How are you, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while, Sophie. I hope all is well. Actually, I can't see you now, but you get the idea. It is so good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. All right, we're going over the 4 R's of summer break and being ready to go back to school. Um, and so the point was is that she was on her way to work on her first day on summer break, and then she gets to her place where she's working, which is she was a lifeguard at a pool. So maybe it is kind of fun for her to do that. But then she showed herself on the first day out of school working on her Google Classroom for next year. I want you to know that we know how hard it is to be a teacher, and we know how much we have to do as a teacher. But I'm telling you, as surely as I'm sitting here, that we need to go 6 full weeks, if possible, with no education related stuff. We don't need to be making lesson plans. All right. Somebody else might say, well, I've got a room to set up. And bless their hearts, I get that too. And I don't know how many teachers I know personally that from the time the last bell rings on the last day until the first bell rings when school comes back, they spend 2 or 3 days in their room tearing it all apart and redecorating it. And for the life of me, I can't understand that. I mean, I want a good room too. All I'm saying is that we don't need a Pinterest perfect classroom while at the same time sacrificing our health, sacrificing our mental acuity, sacrificing our spiritual and emotional health. Somebody else might point out, well, I got emails in my inbox. I got to get right to it. You know what? I can't be ignoring those. And I get it. But those 4 things, those things are important. And let me tell you why. Number one, because the research suggests that it takes 6 weeks or more to decompress from 10 months worth of living in the fight or flight mode. Let that sit right there with you for just a second and let that sink in. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. We go through 10 months of chronic stress, 10 months of high stakes decisions, 10 months of trying to hold everything together for everybody else. And whenever you get to the end of it, the body and the brain need at least 6 weeks just to come back down to the baseline. All right. Not so that you start feeling great, not because you're just feeling good, but just get to the baseline, just to fully decompress. And so here's what I really want to be clear about. Decompression doesn't just happen because you're off the clock. Being able to sleep in and sleep extra does not help with decompression. Sitting around the house does not get you to a place of being decompressed. Binge watching your favorite show, that won't do it either. And I don't want you to misunderstand. Look, I'm not saying that those things are bad by no means, because I do all of them. And all of those things in moderation are all right. But that is not the same as an intentional recovery. Intentionally reconnecting to things that pull you back to yourself. Intentional recreation. Outdoors at that. And I mean that term recreation in its literal sense. Recreation. Creating yourself through physical movement. It's not the same as reframing, having your perspective and your biases challenged on purpose. And it's not the same as relaxation on purpose. Those aren't, or those don't fit and they won't help you decompress. All right, let's see what's going on here. All is well. I work on my other job, but only 4 hours a week. I love taking care of patients and have to maintain my other license in the medical field. I'm doing no teacher stuff. Got it. You got it. Are you going to find time to get away? I see it's only 4 hours a week, so you're at least keeping it at a minimum. But Sophie, have you found time to get away? Are you going to be able to take and go somewhere and kind of come back down off of the 10 months worth of teaching? Are you going to be able to do that? I really hope that you can. And here's the reason why. It's because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know everybody in here knows that. I'm not telling anybody in here anything that's new. That's not even a little bit new. But seemingly we try to do it. And the truth is that it doesn't matter how much you love your students. It doesn't matter how much you love your job. It doesn't matter how dedicated you are. There's absolutely nothing that's going to come out of a cup that doesn't have anything left in it. Nothing. Not a single thing. And so the very best thing, and I say this all the time, that you can give to your students and to your school, the best thing that you can give is the most healthiest and best version of yourself possible. Not a depleted version, not a version of you that's running on fumes, not a version of you that is halfway recovered, the very best version. Now, that's something that we don't hear in education a whole lot, because in education, it's thought that exhaustion for the teacher is like a badge of honor. Or the unspoken rule, or at least one of the unspoken rules of education, is that good teachers keep working no matter what. Well, I'm not opposed to hard work. I'm not even opposed to long hours from time to time. But I am opposed to working ourselves into a place where we're mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually incapable of continuing to go on. And that's exactly what's happening to, well, if the statistics are true, and I think that they are, 60% of the teachers in America, over half of America's teachers, are burnt out. 66% of teachers say that if they had another job, they would go. In fact, 250,000, or about 8% of teachers over the summer, they'll quit. They won't come back. That's pretty stark, but that's where we're at. You can't be running on fumes. And I learned this the hard way. That version of you, or a healthy version of you, cannot be created through continual and constant sacrifice. And I know that teaching, in its very nature, requires us to sacrifice. It requires us to give. And sometimes it requires us to give more than we actually have to give. I get that. But a healthy version of you cannot be created in constant sacrifice. A healthy version of you is created through constant renewal. Now, I want you to think about elite athletes for just a minute. And I don't know, are there any athletes out there, any competitive athletes that are teachers that compete at something? So elite athletes, they don't train at full intensity every single day. They don't train at full speed every time they walk on the practice field. As a matter of fact, now I'm no longer a football coach, but I have some football coaching experience. And, whenever you come onto the practice field, most of what you do is at about 75%. Right? Obviously, because you don't want to beat each other up. You don't want your kids getting hurt in practice, or your players being hurt in practice. So you can't practice at full intensity or train at full intensity every single time. And so what does the coach do? The coach builds in recovery days on purpose. And the reason why is because when there are no recovery days, your athletic performance will break down. The body will break down. It's called overuse. When you use the same muscles over and over and over, you will eventually, if you're not careful, something's going to break. You have to give it a rest. The mind begins to break down when you train at full intensity every single day. If you're an elite athlete. And so the coach builds in recovery days, and they're on purpose. They're not accidental. And that's exactly the way that it needs to be for teachers. It's absolutely no different. Teachers, you need recovery days, just like elite athletes do. And I might say, and I didn't say this about elite athletes, not only do they have recovery days, but they have recovery seasons. They have periods of time where it's down. There's downtime. There is no training. Okay, because their body has to recover. Their mind has to recover. What's absolutely no difference for us. We need downtime. Yes, we need recovery days. A lot of you take mental health days during the year. At least that's what we call them. And that's good. But mental health days alone are not enough. We have to have seasons of recovery, long periods. And I know that we get a little bit here and there. We do get some time at Thanksgiving. I don't know about your district. Our district, they give us the whole week. And then we get a couple of weeks there at Christmas. And of course, we get a spring break and on and on. And those periods of time are good. But for most teachers, that is not a period of time where you can completely shut down. And I understand that. I understand that fully. I can't shut down during those periods of time because part of my duties, I'm the dean of students at my school, but I'm also the athletic director at my school. And so there's athletics going on all year long. In fact, it's been very difficult for me this summer to take time off because of having to take care of athletic things. All right. So it's, I'm not just talking to you. I'm trying to talk to myself. We have to have seasons of time. Summer is yours. There's very few things that you own, teacher. Let me tell you what a couple of them are. Number one, you own your planning time. You own it. It's yours. Number two, you own your time off when you walk out of the school. That time is yours. And number three, you own the summer. All right? Your planning time, that's yours. It's protected in our contracts in Florida. You own your time off because you're off contract. And number three, you own the summer because you don't have a contract yet, or at least we don't in Florida. We don't get a contract till we come back. You own those. Use them to take care of yourself. Summer vacation is not a luxury for a teacher. It is a time of maintenance, and it is extraordinarily important. So my friend Sophie says, or Sophia, she says, walking a lot in the park and going to Mexico for my birthday golly, that's what I'm talking about. Also, pouring into a lot of the word. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff right there. Good stuff. That's enough to help get you back down to base level. So we've had a lot of folks come in tonight, but not a lot of chatter in the comment box. Wonder if we can jump into the chat right there. Those of you who just jumped in, give us your grade level, your content area, and your state. Absolutely love knowing where it is that we reach people. We've been fortunate enough to reach people all over the United States in every single state in America. I'm thankful for that, but also in other countries as well. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Russia, Somebody comments on me all the time, says they're from China. I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't even know they were allowed to use YouTube in China, just to be honest with you. But that's what they say. And so I listen to them and I appreciate them coming in. So drop it in the chat and let us know about you. Now, one of the things that I said is I said that I learned all of this the hard way. And I did learn it the hard way because 4 years ago, I woke up and my face went paralyzed. I thought I had a stroke. My wife thought I had a stroke. The kids at school thought I had a stroke. Everybody thought I had a stroke. The only one that didn't think I had a stroke was my doctor. And my doctor says, nope. He says, you didn't have a stroke. He says, what you have is Bell's palsy. And that was a result of years of built up chronic stress. Not just a bad year. Don't misunderstand. Not just a bad year. Not just a hard year. Not just a hard semester. But years of unresolved, undealt with, never decompressed stress that had been accumulating in my body without me even realizing it. Now, here's the interesting thing is I told you about all the great memories that I made with my kids and my wife going down to a resort that we visit in Florida. I live in Florida, so we don't have to go very far actually. But you know what one of the memories of my kids is that every single vacation I went on with them over the summer, I had to bring summer work with me. I had to pack up my desk. Well, I didn't have a laptop at the time. I had a desktop. I had to pack up my desktop and carry it on every single vacation that we went on. That's one of the memories that my kids has of being on vacation. I mean, I'm thinking I have the memory that they were prank calling all the businesses. They have the memory that old dad was carrying around a desktop computer because he had to work. And so here's what my doctor told me. He said, John, if you don't do something about your stress is going to do something about you. And I didn't take that seriously. I never took it seriously. I wasn't taking time off seriously. I wasn't taking my, vacation seriously. I was just doing what every other teacher that I know does. I was grinding. I was grinding through the school year. I would kind of coast, I want to say mindlessly to some degree through the summertime because it never occurred to me that the summer break could be used productively in order to build a sustainable teaching career. Now, I don't say that without, some real evidence because again, over the summer, 250,000 or somewhere thereabouts of teachers are going to quit. About 7 to 8% of teachers are going to leave. Why do you think they're leaving? Because they're burnt out and they can't get caught up. And they would rather do something else, work for less pay, or stay at home. They'd rather do anything but have to go back into that scenario, into that situation. And I understand that fully. But what I've come to learn, which is why I spend a lot of time here on YouTube, what I've come to learn is that you can intentionally use this time off to build a sustainable career in teaching. Yes, when we get back to school, teaching is going to be tough. It's always been tough, and it will forever be tough. But it doesn't have to be the type of thing that we can't get through. And so basically what happened to me one day is my body said no more. It said enough. And I don't say that to try to sound dramatic or to have an effect. I say it because it's the truth. And because I think that some teachers, many teachers, even some of you that are in here tonight, I think you need to hear it. I think you need to hear it. And the next thing that I say is absolutely true. This almost cost me my life. I mean, I was on the verge. I was on the verge of a major medical crisis, a major medical crisis. And I had to get in shape. I had to get myself better. And it almost cost me my career because I became the most toxic person in the entire school. I was the toxic employee that nobody wanted to be around. You know exactly what I'm talking about because you've been around some toxic people in your day. That's what happened to me. And when I say that, what I mean is just to give you an example is you know how things get into your head, and you have the self-control to keep them in your head. Well, they were pouring out my mouth. I was just saying it. I was just letting it out. I don't have any idea what in the world. I was completely toxic and it was destroying my career. And it almost cost me. I came really close because man, I didn't hold anything back. And so that's why we do what we do here at Teacher Talk, and that's why I created a 5-day teacher reset. It's the most valuable resource that I've ever created, um, and I'm going to drop a link to it in the chat box because maybe some of you want to go check it out. I think probably most of you probably need it. There it is. It's in the chat right there. You could, if you chose, you could get it right there or down in the description box, either way. But it's that important. What teaching does to the teacher is not comparable to any other profession because teachers are 15 points higher as it relates to statistically, to burnout, higher than nurses, police officers, and social workers. Teaching is the highest burnout profession in America. And so here's what I want you to understand. I got to get you to walk away with this. I got to get you to walk away with this. You've hung out with us this long. And before I do that, I just want to jump right in here because Sophia, Virginia, Spanish 1, high school, ninth grade. Hey, we need a Spanish teacher in Florida. Did you ever think about moving to Florida? I think they may have done away with Spanish down here because of budget cuts. So I don't know. Maybe we don't need a Spanish teacher. I'd have to go look. And one home 8680 is listening while driving down the road. I'm afraid to ask it how you put in a chat while you're driving down the road, brother. I appreciate you hanging in. I appreciate it. So here's what I want you to walk away with. Now, I want you to understand this. I want to be completely clear. You can be a fully committed teacher, an effective, highly effective teacher without running yourself into the ground. You can absolutely be fully committed as a teacher and still protect yourself and still take care of yourself. In fact, what I would argue is that as a teacher, protecting yourself is one of the most committed things that you can do. When you actively protect yourself as a teacher, it says that you intend to stay in teaching for the long haul. And I know that everybody out there knows the stats. Brand new teachers are out usually before the 3-year mark. It is very difficult to get new teachers past the 3-year point. Very difficult. And the reason why is because they walk into a system that's designed to destroy the people that are in it. It'll absolutely kill you. If you're protecting yourself, it's because you're committed to being here a while, and we want you to stay. Now, I think about Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 23, which is everybody that comes in here knows that that is the core verse at Teacher Talk. We built our whole platform on it. And what it says is, it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And when we say heart, we don't mean the heart, the muscle. When we say the heart, we mean the command center of your life, where your decisions are made, where your integrity is, where your plans are devised. That's what we're talking about. And he says, above all else, of first importance, guard your heart. And the reason why is because everything flows from it. Everything. If you're angry, guess where it's at? If you're bitter, guess where it's at? If you're jaded and cynical, guess where it's at? All right? Everything flows from there. Your teaching, the way you teach, your attitude, your perspective, your creativity, your patience with the kid that knows how to push every single button that you have, every single bit of that, your ability to regulate, self-control, all of it flows from the condition of your command center. And if you don't guard it, if you don't intentionally protect your command center will run dry. And when it does, you will too. And that's where the vast majority of teachers are in America. They've run dry. So summertime is your chance to take care of yourself and to guard your heart, to refill what 10 months of teaching have emptied out, so that you can come back in August or September or whenever it is that you go back to school, and you can be the teachers that your students need, and you can be the person that you actually want to be. And so here's my best advice. Don't waste it. Take full advantage of the summer. Take full advantage to reconnect with things that draw you back to yourself, that bring you the fondest of memories. Take full advantage to be able to get outside and to have some form of recreation. Again, for me, it's going to be on the golf course. I guarantee it's always going to be on the golf course. Maybe it's pickleball for you. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's tennis. Maybe it's hiking. Maybe it's kayaking. I don't know what it is for you. But spend time in recreation, creating yourself again through physical activity and enjoyment. Take advantage of your opportunity to reframe your perspective, because we all see things through the lens of our own judgment, and sometimes we're wrong. So take time to do that. And take time to relax. Spend time relaxing, where there's no agenda, where there's nobody to see, there's nothing to do. All you have to do is spend time. That's all you have to do. Because summer vacation is not a reward for surviving the school year, although it may seem that way. Summer vacation is a recovery season. And just as elite athletes have to have a recovery period, you have to have it too. And more than that, you deserve it. You deserve it. But on top of that, it's not even optional. if you want to stay in this profession, if you want to remain a teacher, recovery in this recovery season is not optional. All right. So we talked about a bunch of books tonight. Okay. My reading list. Wow. Everybody's jumping in here now. That's good stuff. Appreciate it. Couple things right here. Just want to drop my reading list. I had mentioned it earlier, putting it in the chat right here. All right. Todd says, I would relax 4 weeks before I go back if I was a teacher. Well, okay. So you're not off, Todd. What I actually try to encourage people to do is not to do anything before the third week of July. And that's assuming that you get out at the end of June or at the end of May, like I do. I know some people get out a little bit later than that, so you have to adjust that period of time. And I try to commit to doing absolutely nothing till the third week in July, which has been impossible for me this year because there's just been so many athletic things that have popped up, and I've had to give a couple hours here and a couple hours there. And I hate to even say that because I really do not, I really want to be disengaged fully, 100%. Todd, appreciate you dropping that in. Anybody else before we go? If not, we're going to get out of here. And we'll be back on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Dr. Pender will be with me. I won't be soloing it. And so I appreciate everybody hanging out. If I'm going to leave it open there for just a minute so everybody gets an opportunity to see the book list in case they want to get that. If you miss it, it's in the description box. So jump down there and grab it. All right. Y'all have a good night. Stay strong.